Good morning, I'm Jason Sage, also known as Jegas Online. I'm owner of Jegas LLC, which has mostly been writing open source software lately. I wanted to talk a little bit about the cloud. Everyone uses the cloud, like it's just like the thing to do. And I just wanted people to just think about some of the stuff that they might be doing, especially when you're dealing with business software, but with personal software too. Uh, First off, let's just start with the fact that not all companies are good. Second of all, there are groups of people out there that want to get information from said companies, your information, and do you harm, hold you hostage, steal your stuff, exploit, rob you, whatever. There's all these different kinds of things. Now, when I talk about companies, let me just think about one thing here. Security agencies have discovered that if you watch the IP packets for Windows 10, with all things turned off, you've been going out of your way to turn things off in the registry to prevent talking to Microsoft and giving your information and using Cortova, the professional keylogger they've installed into their system. You think you've turned it all off, yet security agencies have found they're still sending encrypted data back to their home base. You can kind of know too that they also force updates on you, which means that whenever they want, they can change what they want. So if they're nice today and they want to turn bad tomorrow, they have ways to demand and basically insist and force, without you doing a whole lot of anything, having much say in the matter, updating your machine. There's some things you can do on that note, but it doesn't stop them from contacting home with encrypted data that we just have to assume is okay. Now, you might be thinking I'm paranoid, but let's just point something out. In the Microsoft situation, you have an operating system that you put on your machine, which has your passwords and access to all of your information. And the company that you use for your operating system in this case is constantly sending information back to the server that you don't know what it is, and you can't always seem to shut it off. Okay? They don't let you use your voice recognition tools unless you turn on Cordoba, which records everything you do, everything from key presses to where you go, so it can try to figure out your schedule, so it can tell you how to live. Okay, that almost seems kind of neat, except for the fact that the company, and here's the part I want you to think about, is also an advertising company. Okay, so the machine that's got all your private information on it, that company that has the keys to everyone's machine that has their software installed worldwide, they've got direct access to every single bit of your information whenever the hell they want it. And if you think, oh, they would never do that, let's remind you that they are an advertising agency. They want your data so they can offer even more targeted, advertising to their clients who are paying money to get those little ads up on the screen everywhere, right? Okay. All right, there's a conflict of interest there. If you don't see it, I'm sorry. I'm moving on. Okay. All right. The other one is, as much as I think they are a useful service, I just think you need to think about what's going on here when you use a company like Salesforce as a tool for your accounting system for your business. Okay, you're giving strangers your information, but it is a service, which usually means you're a little better off than a company like Microsoft, who has an operating system and an advertising agency. Google, let's use all your business information right here. They're an advertising agency. What is wrong with people who are doing that with the private information? Light information, it doesn't matter. I think, for me, okay. So many people use Google stuff that I plan on doing integrations with it with my Jazz stuff. It's not that hard to do. They got APIs online, whatever. But it's not because I necessarily think it's the best tool for all jobs, nor do I not want to give people the option to do whatever they want, if I can help it, and I try to add features. But it's important to think about what's going on there when you are using Google Docs and stuff, and all this stuff you're sharing, your spreadsheets, your habits, who your business contacts are. Think about it. They track all of that. And I don't know. For example, here's a service that I don't worry a whole lot about. You got Dropbox, right? If you don't have anything major important that's real private that you're making kind of public, whatever. That's what's wrong with that, right? If it, I don't know if it does, but if it has a way to make it so it's private and you can give it to a private person, I don't think they're combing your data because they don't have a conflict of interest there. A lot of companies have have their own advertising things and all that, but they're paying vendors. They're not sitting there milking your data and taking it and handing it to them, But do you know? Do you know if that's the case? Now, here's a whole other angle. Besides the fact that you're giving your data to strangers that might be having their way with your data without your knowledge. Whenever you have companies that are kind of large in the cloud world, all right, they instantly become targets to hackers. They instantly become, I think that says it all. But basically, if you have your data in that spot, you have a higher chance of it being exposed. You hear about these, Facebook got hacked, Google got hacked, this person got hacked, I've got hacked. Whatever. These things happen. And if your data's in a high target area, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's like hanging out in real big cities when the terrorist warning's like way up. It's just kind of like you're just asking for trouble. You're just waiting for it. I don't want to go through the whole security thing about using the same passwords on every site and all that kind of stuff, but that does fall into the same category of what I'm talking about. But I'm more concerned with people just blindly trusting cloud services with information that maybe they shouldn't give it to them. I'm working on some software, and this isn't a pitch for it, but I'm working on some software that it might not be the best of breed in different areas, but it covers a lot of ground. And by covering a lot of ground with it, you can make your own cloud. And with a lot of other software packages, you can make your own cloud. By using a service that does not have a conflict of interest, where you're putting the software on, you're controlling what's there, and making it on the cloud available for reasons so that you can get it from anywhere and all that kind of stuff, which makes sense, right? But you can trust yourself. If you got a service provider that just gives you a virtual machine, you can you're probably okay with these hosting companies. You want to get one that's reputable, find out from people that that trust it, whatever. And that is important too. And trust, but then you also have to take in the high visibility of some places where you might want to house your stuff and just take a chance of it getting slammed. Because I mean, people say, well, you can't have security and by hiding. Okay, no, but you can avoid a lot of grizzly bears and polar bears and wolves and stuff if you hide well. I mean, it's not saying that you might not get by a rattlesnake, but I mean, you can at least avoid some of the attacks and live that much longer, So it's just something to think about. The cloud is not your friend. Everyone's got a motive, and that includes the companies and the bad guys. They all have their motivations, and it's really good to kind of understand what they are, even the ones that don't necessarily seem like they're up on the front page of their mission statement or anything, such as Microsoft. All right, they're harvesting data left and right. They've been trying to push their Bing thing. They're trying to compete with Google. Google, thinking like Microsoft. I remember they already got the cloud side on the search engine part, but they're also working on targeted advertising and have a lot of tools for it. But they wanted to expand it. So what did they do? They came up with a Google OS. Did we need a Google OS? It's a freaking browser and a search engine. No, we didn't. But that would give them even more data to collect for their nefarious advertising agenda. So that's all this video is about. The cloud is not your friend. You need to consider where you're putting your data, where you're not putting your data. What's the agenda of the companies? Do you know them? I trust them. How big is their visibility? How important is your data? Sometimes having it home is better. Some people like to have, the virtual IT department. I understand that's virtual, but it also means people far away and strange that you don't know. Sometimes it's kind of nice to have your computer right next to you. Sometimes it's nice to have a service provider that you can trust and not have to worry about anything, and then only use services that are really lightweight. Or maybe interface with stuff you have no choice, obviously, like maybe PayPal is something that you feel like you have to use. I've used it. I mean, whatever. I don't even like PayPal. I think they're pretty bad because they've more than once, to the point that there's a class action lawsuit, have stopped people's money just because they didn't like what they were selling or whatever. They get a hair across their hair. They might lock up tens of thousands of dollars of someone's account and not give it to them, tell them they have to do paperwork to file a complaint or something. They eventually got sued. I don't know if you've got the notice from PayPal, but yeah, they finally got hit for that. That was what their method of operation was. Yeah, we're fine, except that you started to sell something related to this topic, so we're going to just take your money. As opposed to even giving the option like, oh, we don't want you doing that with eBay and our account before they split, whatever, and just like closing your account and giving your money back. No, they lock up your stuff and not let you have it. That's the cloud. What do you do? Nothing. Are they even based in the USA? Oh, shoot. I don't even have nothing to do. What if you're in New Zealand and you do this and it's someone in the US has just messed you up? Do you have any legal recourse? No. The cloud is not your friend. It's also out of reach. And you want to put all your data to people you don't know, to places that are out of reach, that you're probably not going to be able to do anything as any kind of ramification, unless you have a real loud voice and do a lot of work. You pretty much are at their whim. I mean, as far as, what are you going to do? If they do you wrong, what are you going to do? Okay, so before getting in that situation, maybe you don't put yourself out there where that risk is a possible thing. Risk management is all about trying to think about that stuff ahead of time. It's basically a fancy name for just like trying to think before you do something, really. Risk management. Just planning ahead a little bit. And I think that's something to plan for. It's people trying to rob you, and people trying to take your stuff. That's something to plan for, something to expect. Actually, you should be on guard every day, I think, for it. And I don't even like the word should, because a friend of mine told me should's a strong word, and I totally agree with it once I heard it like that. Should is like saying I know better and you need to do what I say. That's not the case here. What I'd like is you to at least just think about what I'm saying, some of the ramifications, and then weigh them, because the cloud might be exactly what you need and is the thing. And also my main point too is that maybe this cloud service is not the one to use because they're kind of whatever, but this one is. I mean, there is that, and that's what the whole right tool for the job is. But the cloud as a whole is not your friend. Just because it's on the word cloud, there's some really sick people on the cloud. There's some real bad things on the cloud. There's some messed up services on the cloud. There's a lot of bad stuff on the cloud. And we use certain names that we tend to know. But you got to remember, on anything that's used, anyone who's making millions of dollars, there's some cutthroat something happening somewhere. Or they got really lucky on sales. You know what I mean? So it's just consider it. Just think about it. I mean, like, if you value your business data, I think it's worth giving it a good thought as to where you're keeping it and what parts you're keeping it. Maybe the best solution for the security thing is that you have certain kind of data that you're not really, it's okay if it's on the cloud. And then there's other data that, you keep closer to, cards to the chest kind of thing. Some data you don't let out. I would think that'd be your accounting information at a minimum, especially with the ransomware stuff people are doing. And some people are like, well, if you have it at home, that's how you get the ransomware. Well, maybe get 2 firewalls and maybe have a consultant come in and set you up. But at least it's in the house. If you've got your own IT department, they should be able to handle this, we hope. And if not, even they aren't going to be experts in every topic. Maybe it's okay to hire someone as a risk management step and to see what you can possibly do about safeguarding your data and how realistic is it for you to have it there at home, have it on a service, or just use cloud services as your virtual IT entirely and depend on that. Each one of those things are a failure point and a security point, a risk point, every one of them. So you have to weigh your decisions carefully, and that's what I want you to think about just for a moment. Have a great day. I'm Jegas. I'm Jason Sage from Jegas LLC. I don't know how to sign off when you got an alias. Have a good day.